Hello, everybody, and welcome into my latest live feed. It's Thursday. It's the 24th of August, 2023. My name is CareyHolzman, and yeah, thanks for joining me today. And hello to everybody in the chat room. There were a couple of contributions that came in before the show, so we'll give a quick shout out to say thank you to Paul O'Brien for the Amazon gift card, and also to Randy Phillips. Thank you guys for supporting the channel that way. Both sent Amazon gift cards before the show. And this weird thing in front of me was sent, I guess Alan Linda sent this to me. And he says, I noticed you're always reaching for a drink and it keeps getting warm. So I'm sending you a coaster, a drink coaster. And then a few weeks went by and a package from China arrived, and this is the biggest coaster I've ever seen. It almost looks like a like the kind of a bowl you'd use like for keeping cheese hot or something. But it's actually pretty clever. It's got a plate on it, and when you touch, this is a touch capacitive button. You touch that to tap it just to turn it on, and tap on the snowflake to make it colder, and tap on the star to make it go into heat mode. I tried it out briefly yesterday. You can see there's some residual condensation down here. It's like a little Peltier plate. And then you can, it includes a power adapter to plug in the wall, but it also includes a little USB adapter so you can plug it into your PC or any USB port. So I was very thoughtful. I appreciate it. I wish it wasn't so big, but hey, you know what? If it works, worth it. I'm not quite sure how well it's going to work by just keeping the bottom of the drink cool. But let's try it out for today. And thank you again. It was very thoughtful. I'm going to go ahead and plug in the USB cable. I've got it plugged in here to my power strip. And I'll tap the power button here. And I'll put it on cold. See, those lights have lit up. And it immediately starts getting cold. It's completely silent, doesn't make any noise. This doesn't appear to be UL listed or certified by any government agency for safety. The instructions are pretty straightforward. One page, one side. That's all you get. So I hope you didn't pay more than 20 bucks for it, but hopefully it won't burn my house down. There's no batteries in it, so we'll probably be okay. All right, so again, thank you for that. Let me take a look in the chat, see what's going on with you guys. We are headed back into the heat. So much for our rainy weather, and it didn't really get much in the way of rain. We were overcast for a few days, and that was refreshing. Humid, but overcast. And yeah, so we're moving back up to 110 degrees Fahrenheit plus throughout the next few days. And I'm trying to stay indoors as much as possible as a result. All right. Let's take a look here. Hello to Ben Laird and Garfield Rupe and Paul O'Brien, Douglas Burchell, Ant and Carlos Hernandez, John Williams and Ron Barnish. Hello to Thomas MacT and Mark Baggett, Heat Tracker 34. Hello to Marsman 50, John Paul Bacon, Dan Nilsson, and our friend Blue Greenia. Zach Bischoff has renewed his membership for month number 8. He says, hello, camera and Carey. Hello, camera and Carey girl. Hello, Carey and camera girl. And all in chat, it's my membership birthday. Yeah, you get those every month. Happy membership birthday. There's our friend Oystein, who watches us all the way from Sweden. I don't see our good friend Buster, but I'm sure he'll be watching us later. A lot of stuff going on. Personal stuff, so fully understand his absence today, but I'm sure he'll watch the replay. And when you do, hey, Buster, we're thinking of you. Paul 1980s says hello, as does Randy Wablowski, Jose Casimiro, Bill Knott also saying hello from Cincinnati. Peter Meyer says hello, and 55 Staying Dude, Linda, John Inglis, and David Moore, Shamim Kajvirez, Alhaj Depej, Chris Smith, R2 Rasenin, Danny Hartline, George Armstrong. Did I say Carlos Hernandez? Welcome in, everybody. If I've skipped over your name, it's not on purpose. I'm trying to get through it quickly. And Bill 142 and Edie Salt, welcome in. Mats Olof joining us all the way from Sweden. Oystein all the way from Norway. I can't remember what I just said, but it seems like I said the wrong person was in Sweden. That's a good way to kick off a show, isn't it? LRCX joins us from California and says hello. Edie Salt says they're joining from Armenia. Right on. That's very cool. I think you're the only viewer we have in Armenia. Of course, everybody's welcome here, regardless of where you're from. Just be nice. We'd love to have you in our chat room. Essential Working Too Hard says hello. So what are we doing today? Well, you see I've got a bunch of boxes in front of me. A couple of things I was working on yesterday. I had to get a computer shipped out, and I ordered an ingenious wireless bridge to replace the bridge I've been using. I've been sort of limping along on the wireless bridge I've got now. Think of a wireless bridge as an Ethernet cable without the cable. Each end of the cable is one end of the bridge, and you set the bridge at one end where one end of the cable plugs in. You set the other bridge, the other half of the bridge, where you want the cable to end up going. It's like a cableless cable, wireless cable. And they're making these bridges now so fancy they can work as access points and multiple distribution networks for spreading out Wi-Fi. And by default, for whatever reason, Ingenious sets it up as an access point. They sell it as a bridge, but out of the box, it's not set up as a bridge. And this gets really, really confusing to set it up manually. Because they're so versatile, there's many different ways you can use a wireless bridge. And the folks at Engadget the folks at Ingenious, it's going to be one of those days today, as I could tell. They did not have a bridge to send me for review. But they sent me all that other stuff for review, none of which I can really utilize. Not yet, anyway. So I went on Amazon, and since Ingenious is showing us support, I returned the favor and bought an Ingenious branded bridge, because the bridge I'm using is from China. It's some cheap Chinese made thing, and the one I replaced it with was another cheap Chinese made thing. And you know, I'm trying to run a video channel, a YouTube channel on this thing, and I require it, you know, depending on it. And I don't know if the dropouts we've had recently are a result of other equipment failure, but my first thought is that's the cheapest piece of equipment in the whole chain. So I'll get a name brand, American supported piece of equipment, since this is pretty serious. So I started setting that up, and it was really getting me frustrated, because normally the way they come out of the box, you just plug them in and you can use them with the option of configuring them. But the way these came out of the box, it came out like I was trying to broadcast across the entire neighborhood, which is not what I want to do. And thank goodness for YouTube, did my own research and had to find a few videos of people doing it. A couple of the people doing it were wanting to spread the Wi-Fi across, you know, an entire area, whereas I just want a bridge. And luckily there was a gentleman who did an excellent video, step by step. It's kind of complex. I wish they didn't make it so difficult. I've got it working, and hopefully in the near future, I will get the bridge replaced and we'll see how it works. So upwards and onwards, but I spent half of the day yesterday working on that. We have a couple of N100 based mini PCs here. I think these are all N100s. I think. And we're looking to find these some homes. Yeah, this is an N100 as well. So we're going to do another giveaway. And again, to nominate yourself for the giveaway, you'll need to leave a comment in this video. You must be 18 years of age or older. You must not have received anything from this channel as a gift in the past. This way, everybody gets a chance to receive something, and one person isn't getting multiple things where multiple people are getting nothing. So in the US, 18 years of age or older, You cannot nominate anybody else. You can only nominate yourself. If you say, oh, this would be good for a friend, a neighbor, fill in the blank, that will be your gift. You don't nominate them. They can come here and be a part of their community, be a part of this community where nobody's stopping them. If you tell them, hey, you know, you could get a free computer if you become a part of this community, it's free, and they choose not to do it, then I wouldn't bend over backwards to try and force the matter by doing it for them. But that's just my opinion. What you do with your gift is up to you. You want to re-gift your gift to somebody else, one way or the other, it's the same on my end. I'm going to ship you one thing one time, we're done. So unless you engage in business with me and you're making a purchase, I want you to think about how you want to spend your one gift, because we have multiple items that come up available for giveaways. We've done everything from NVMe enclosures, wireless routers, mini PCs, regular PCs. So you kind of have this one get out of jail free card. However you want to spend it is up to you. Now, that's just nominating yourself. Just because you nominate yourself doesn't mean you're going to be selected. We have to see how many people are nominating themselves. Tell us a little bit about yourself, why you're nominating yourself, and why you should be selected. Put that in the comments, and we'll go through that. And we're going to find the people who will appear to be, who will benefit the most, whose life will be most improved by sending. So if you're just somebody looking for a toy to play with, but somebody else has no reliable way to get online, maybe they're stuck using their phone and they'd really like a computer, I'm going to pick the person who needs a computer. But please be honest with, otherwise you're literally taking some, food out of a hungry person's mouth effectively. So I know we have a great community here, and that I know all the members that I'm familiar with are honest. Sometimes we get a bunch of people from the outside who join in on videos like this strictly to get the free thing and leave. And there's no rule against it, but we sure as heck would love it if they become a member of the community, if they like what they see and they want to stick around. And these giveaways are nothing compared to the value of the information I give away on this channel nearly every day on diagnostics, repairs, build techniques, customer service techniques, things going on in the industry, all from a perspective of an actual professional in the industry, not from some hobbyist or enthusiast living on the outskirts looking in. I'm on the inside, and I can give you the information from the inside, which I believe is way more value than any of this stuff, because that information will stay with you for life. This stuff here, it's good for a couple of years and it gets obsolete, and then the newness and excitement of it will wear off relatively soon, like any new thing. And then eventually, whether due to failure or just due to the fact of it's no longer capable of having the resources necessary to run modern day software, whatever you're using it for, it's temporary. Knowledge is forever. So that's my philosophy on it. And I do my best to try to weed out people who are trying to pull one over on me. Regardless, everything is recorded. So I know if I've shipped to an address before, I know if I've shipped to a certain name before. And we do our best to try to make sure the people most deserving aren't having items taken from them that, deservedly should be going to them. And sure, if you're one of those people, I do hope you nominate yourself. So we've got the Chewy N100 Mini PC, and there are video reviews on all these little boxes here. This is the Larkbox X. These are all N100s, so they're essentially Celeron, but fully capable, Windows 11. Remember this guy? Remember that one? So that one needs to find a home. And then we've got these two from, are these Morphine? Morphine ones. Yeah, this is Morphine. So here's the N100 Morphine. This one has a 1 terabyte drive in it, 16 gigs of RAM. It's an N100 processor. And then this other one is a more fine, the M8S. That's an N100 with 16 gigs of RAM. A little smaller, two Ethernet ports. If you want more details on any of these units, just search the manufacturer name and my name here on YouTube, and you'll see the videos that appear. Select the one accordingly. Don't be afraid to click on other mini PC reviewers such as Rob Tech and ETA Prime and others that have done reviews and see what they have to say as well. Although it is a gift, like I said, you only get the one, so make sure you spend it wisely. What I've got here in this box is not a giveaway, but rather because people have been generous lately, I went to AliExpress to do something I don't recommend any of you do, and decided to buy a mini PC that's not available for sale here in the USA. This is a Topton RGB mini PC. So as I open it up, you'll see we've got this colorful documentation. The PC is in a clear, the top half of it's in a clear case. And once again, I'm aiming for doing some reviews that you're not going to find at Rob Tech or ETA Prime or any of the other folks that do reviews, trying to find some unique content that you just can't find anywhere else. And to do that, I have to buy it. And then I can tell you, after I bought it, whether or not I'd recommend you buy it. Now, the short notes on this is it's actually a really good computer. But if you ever have a warranty issue with it, well, you're on your own, because shipping this back to China will likely take a month. It'll likely cost about $40 to $60 minimum. And for them to then repair it and ship it back will probably take another month. So do understand when you're wanting to save money by foregoing the insurance of buying from a reputable local retailer like Amazon, Newegg, Best Buy, that you are absorbing some risk. Now, that being said, as you can see, this unit, pretty plain Jane. There's really no markings of manufacture on this. I think they even included some stickers. Is this the one they put the stickers in? That had like a serial number and model number or something. It normally is already affixed to the bottom of the computer. This one? See what else is in there. Power cord. Double-sided sticky tape. Oh, there's a SATA cable, so I guess you can put a 2.5-inch drive in there if you want to. Stan Aristov, £1.99, contributed in Super Chat. Says, hey, Carey and chat, I'll watch the repeat tomorrow. Hey, right on. Thank you, Stan. So anyway, you can see we've got this little stand, which I guess you're supposed to put this on here like that. And I'll bring this up to the camera so you can see close up the way what ports it has. It's actually a pretty neat little computer. Now, I did order 3 computers from AliExpress. 2 are good, 1 is bad. So this is one of the, in my opinion, one of the good ones. This is an AMD-based mini PC. As you see, we've got our power button. We've got a headset jack or a 3.5 millimeter audio jack for headphones, microphone, or a headset. 2 USB 3s up front, USB Type-C, and then this button controls your RGB, cycles through the colors and patterns, and then it'll turn it off as well, and then it just rotates around. Nothing on this side, nothing on that side. Coming around the back, we've got 2 RJ45s. We've got another USB Type-C. See the little square box? That means it supports video output via DisplayPort. We also have HDMI and DisplayPort out, and then what appears to be 2 USB 2s. At the top, we've got this nice clear cover, what you'd call that. And this was priced fairly. I think it was $270, something like that. Let's hook it up. Now, I did originally, when I received it, hook it up and do all the Windows updates, but it has been sitting on the to-do pile for probably 2 months now. The power adapter Oh, I'm going to take back what I said about that supporting video output. That's actually going to be our power input here. Yeah, that's not a little monitor. That's a little plug. So that's your power input. The front one may support display output. I'm not sure. It's a super speed USB 3 Type C. But I'll show you the power adapter here. You'll see there's no manufacturer listed anywhere on it. There's no manufacturer listed on the directions, the instructions, the box. The manufacturer of the power supply is a manufacturer of power supplies. That's this company here. They only make power supplies. You'll see it uses a standard laptop style power plug and then a USB Type C for power delivery. And as far as wattage and voltage goes, it appears to be 1.5 amps, 19 volts. It looks like 19 volts, 7.4 amps. All right, all pretty standard. Oh, the other side of it looks kind of, I was just walking away and I realized the other side of it's kind of nifty looking. Not that anybody's going to see it. So the mini PC manufacturers, they don't build their own power supplies unless you're Intel or somebody like that. They don't buy power supplies from a manufacturer there. Of course, buying them in bulk, they'll get them cheaper. And so what we'll do here is we'll give this some power and we will plug in internet to one of these two ports, doesn't matter which one. We'll plug in HDMI through our one HDMI output here. I need a keyboard and a mouse, and I'm going to just put this, where should I put it? Maybe like this so you guys can see it. There's a little ledge for that to catch on. I'll grab my keyboard and my mouse. The manufacturer of this is called Topton, one word. Turn these on. We turn on my HDMI input on the capture card and put myself in a corner here. So I haven't turned this on in a couple months. It's probably missing some updates. I'm hitting the power, the RGB color LED will not turn this on. But this button down here on the opposite end will. And if I cut the lights, you'll see the color. And if I push the RGB light, you'll see it cycles through different patterns. There's sort of a breathing pattern. That looks to be static, 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 all different shades. That turns it off entirely. Press it again, and we're back around to the beginning. So not a whole lot of options, not software adjustable. Gonna have to adjust it with the button. And we'll pull up the AliExpress page so I can show you, because these pages, they typically don't stick around very long. Obviously, I'm not being paid to make this video. I've spent money from the channel, from you guys who contribute or are members, in order to purchase things that I think are interesting and unique to make content you're not going to find anywhere else. And I don't think anybody's got a review on this. Now, regardless if they do or they don't, they certainly won't have a review like this. So I'm going to go full screen over here. Okay, so it's always been full screen for you. I have to make it full screen on my side or I can't really see anything. Let's take a look at the system specifications. Now, I believe I bought this bare bones and I put my own RAM, I think, my own RAM and my own storage in it. This shows 16 gigs of RAM, 15.4 gig is usable because our onboard GPU is using some of our system RAM. It's a Ryzen 7 5800H. That's no slacker. We've got Windows 11 22H2 installed. As for storage, what did I put in there? C drive. Only looks like we've got 256 gig of NVMe storage. You know, I'm starting to wonder, usually when I put them together, I'll put in 32 gigs of RAM and at least a 500. But I can't remember now. Too much time has passed. Let's look in the device manager real quick and see what these Ethernet ports are. Device. All right, so looking at networking, this has Bluetooth and Wi-Fi using an Intel i225. That's a 2.5 gig Ethernet controller on one of the controllers, and a Realtek 1 gigabit Ethernet controller is the other. Not sure which one I'm plugged into. The Wi-Fi is Realtek wireless Wi-Fi 6. That also has the Bluetooth built in, and that was included with the unit. If I go down here to this little square box, you should be able to see the properties of the Ethernet adapter and determine which one that I'm on. So I'll go over here to Ethernet. I'm showing we're connected at 1 gigabit here. So apparently the Ethernet adapter closest to where the power goes in should be our 2.5. Oops, should be our 2.5 gig. Yeah, that just rests on there. So if you put any weight on it, it just slides off. But it's all solid state parts except for that moving fan. Now when this connects, hopefully, we should see network 2. Where is my connection stats? Out and back in. Right click, network, Ethernet. Now we're connected at 2500. Yeah, so the 2.5 gig LAN connection is the one closest to the power supply. And the other is the Realtek 1 gig. Overall, a little unusual, but most people only use one anyway. Now, if I go to AliExpress, let's see if I can find this thing. They do tend to move around a lot. Uh-oh, what happened to my connection? There we go. Let's look for Topton RGB. Let's see if it pulls this thing up. Oh, I think it was $400 actually. I think this is it here. Yeah, this is it. It's the Ryzen 7 5800. It's 8 cores, DDR4 RAM. So apparently it came with, I swear I ordered it with no RAM and no storage. Okay. So I was closer. I think I'm confusing myself now. I ordered this without RAM or storage. So it was $276. And then I put my own, I must have used some RAM I had laying around and probably something that came out of another mini PC that I upgraded. Same with the NVMe drive, threw on Windows 11. I bought a license for Windows 10 and used that Windows 10 license code, put that into Windows 11 to activate it. I'm pretty sure I did. Let's just, before I speak too soon, let's go back to, let's type down here, activation. See if Windows is activated. Activation state is active. Yeah, so I'm guessing that's what happened. I thought it was around $300. Bare bones, and put my own RAM and drive into it. I didn't want to put a lot of RAM or storage into it unless it was deemed worthy to have more. It is a little bit noisy. I mean, I can hear the fan running. It's very pronounced. But it's very unique looking, and for $300, it's hard to complain, in my opinion. Now, does anybody have any questions about this here in the chat room? Starshine and Ian Gooch join us, as does David Ice, H. Ringer, Dan Nilsson, and Richard Cullen. Rick Lakes gives a shout out, as does Ken Stout and David Moore. Daniel Emberley says, with all these mini PCs, I've always wondered about replacement fan availability and ease of replacement. Most of these mini PCs will have no fans in them at all outside of the CPU cooler fan. They're also very inexpensive. They're basically disposable. The worry about what do you do about replacement parts for something under $300 as far as a computer goes, don't expect much. If you want that ability, look to spend $600 or more and set your expectations accordingly. At this price point here, and especially if you're sourcing anything from AliExpress, it's always about saving money. It's not about peace of mind, and it's not about longevity or reliability. This is going to solve my issue for today, or I'm curious. I've got some, it's a little bit of an investment. It's not a major investment. I might enjoy tinkering with it. But with regards to any support or anything, you're on your own, and it's limited to your capability. There's not any one rule that defines them all. If you want that kind of support, stick with the big name brands like Intel NUC or the Asus line. Who's the other big one in the space? There's a couple others where they're sold here, the companies are based here in the U.S. or they have U.S. subsidiaries. These companies do not. So by that, they can sell it to you for less. So you got to pick one. Do you want to save money and get more for your money, or do you want peace of mind and a little insurance, i.e., warranty and support? If you're the kind of person who never needs warranty or support, you usually take care of yourself, and go for it, save money. If you're the kind of person that always needs help or things always seem to break on you, be sure you spend a little bit more so that you're buying from a reputable US seller with a US base, so that if you have any problems, you have support and the ability to return it without having to ship it overseas, where it could be gone for months. So yeah, don't put your heart and soul into something so inexpensive. Don't expect the world of it, and you won't be disappointed. You expect the worst and hope for the best. When I ordered this, I wasn't expecting it to be anywhere near as good as it is. I'm quite shocked at how good it is. I'm quite shocked I'm recommending it, but only for those people who are technical enough who understand what the risk is with regards to support. Chris Garrett joins us and says hello. Hey, welcome in, Chris. Jojo wants to know what the device is I have for my drink bottle. I don't know. It came in a plain brown box with no manufacturer name on it. It has no labeling on it. It says it's a K1812. Maybe if we look at AliExpress for K1812, maybe we can find it. Viewer mailed this. Alan Lindos mailed this. So I had no say in it. Didn't even ask me if I wanted it. Just sent it. So K1812. Seeing it there. How about K-1812? 2. Oh, how about drink cooler coaster? Just put in drink cooler. Oh, it's more than just a drink cooler. This one that's kind of similar. That, no, that's not it. Similar. Definitely looks like something from AliExpress. Yeah, no idea. Maybe Alan will share a link in the chat room. Your guess is as good as mine. Maybe it didn't even come from AliExpress. It sure does look like it did, but looks can be deceiving. It definitely came from overseas. It was shipped and had to go through, shipped from another country, had to go through customs. Gary Tatum shares a link to Amazon in the UK that shows it's a drink holder, hold retention, 114 degrees. Let's see, let's go to here that. Where's my window capture? There it is. Took me a while. So this looks like it's $55. That's yen, isn't it? We change the United States. Change address to United States. Change your location. Shipping available to United States. Show a US price. Looks like you found it. It's just difficult to know what the price is for that. Let's see. Let's go to Amazon.com. Search this way. Manufacturer. Nothing. You can search Google. Hit the shopping tab. Yeah, no idea, folks. Your guess is as good as mine. And I'm not necessarily recommending it. I don't even know if the thing works well. This one's a little more appealing because it's not so big. Is that a drink cooler? Oh, it's not even a drink. It's not even a drink cooler, Carey. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about. All right. Well, there you go. Let me go back to camera 1 here. There I am. And we'll go full screen. Camera 1. Okay, very good. Weinstein provides a link to Amazon US. Let's see what his looks like. Yeah, that's just a completely different thing. So yes, they do make these drink coolers or heaters, right? If you're drinking coffee, you want to keep something warm. They're all pretty much the same technology, but just very different looks. So the link Oystein has provided is for Amazon US, and it does the same job as this, but it looks entirely different. It's the only thing they have in common is what their purpose is. Different manufacturer, different design, different size, et cetera, et cetera. Starshine says 5,500 yen is 38 US dollars. $38.40. Sounds about right. So again, appreciate it, Alan, for sending it, the mystery drink cooler. Should we check for updates? Oh, that's a good idea. Let me go back over to my OBS settings here, and we'll go back to HDMI input, turn off camera 1. I had updated this, so there shouldn't be much in the way of updates. Here, there. Let's update. Install all. And we'll make sure that advanced options, we'll make sure that keep up to date, notify me when a restart is ready. And under optional, we have 0. And we'll go ahead and let that run. So it's actually pretty quiet right now, but when it starts working, running any processes, you will hear that fan come on. It's quite pronounced. This would not necessarily be a good machine for a home theater PC because the RGB would be distracting you from the screen, you know. But again, you can go through the RGB, cycle through it. It does turn off. I think even if you hold the button in, that should also, yeah, that turns it off as well. Yeah, and this thing just very lightly rests what is essentially a bookend. So nothing really locks it in there. So it will slide off. But the good news is there's really no moving parts other than that decorative fan on top, and then of course the CPU. Joe says he loves my video. Well, thank you, Joe. Very kind of you. Al has provided a link to Amazon for what is, let's see. Oh, that's the same link. That's Amazon Japan. Is there little to no heat on the Mini? I guess it would depend on how you're using it. But for what we're doing right now, and since I've turned it on, it's not even, it doesn't even feel like it's on. There's a little bit of warmth towards the base of it, but up by the fan, obviously, it's very cool. So overall, and I don't understand the internet. The people who go on the internet, who are kind of make up a lot of the majority of people who are going on looking at computer information, seem to be unhealthy in the sense of they have an obsession with heat, as though this is a constant battle they're having. I haven't seen a computer with a heat problem in a very long time, and it's probably less than 3% of all service calls, probably even less than that, deal with heat. So I don't know what the obsession is with heat, unless these are people that overclock their machines or overvolt their machines, thereby creating the heat. But if it's run the way the manufacturer has intended, you should never have a heat problem. So it's very odd that people talk about it so much and obsess about it as though it's a real battle. It's like we live on two different planets. But be that as it may, no, it doesn't have a heat problem. Joe Demio with a $3 super chat. Thank you, Joe. Claudio says I have a B-Link that has the J4125 CPU that's been working for the last 2 years for a Linux server with Dockers. All the time it's on, cooler's okay. You know, yeah, those little J Intel CPUs are great for lightweight OSs like Linux. Carry with the mini slide in the slot if the stand is turned over. I don't think the mini PC has any sort of groove. It's perfectly smooth along all sides. And the stand appears to be multi-directional. It doesn't seem to have a top or a bottom. No indication to say which way is one way or the other. They look equal in every way, and all the markings and design at both ends. I think it's just really simplified. Again, if you want to look at items that are a bit more bespoke, want to double your price, maybe looking for features like that would be a reasonable thing to do. I think anybody that would suspect there's more to this than what it appears is optimistic. Alesh says Ace Magician is going to mail him a new AD15 mini PC by the end of the month. He's going to replace his. I guess he's having some problems with his where the screen will go to sleep on him or something. Oh, are you guys asking if you turn this way, will it fit in like that? I suppose you could do it that way too. The reason I put it in this way is if we go to the AliExpress website. Let's go back over to. I see what you're saying now. Let's go to this computer's input here. There we go. And let's look at Express. Express. This is Topton RGB. In the pictures, yeah, maybe it wasn't this one. Let's look at some of the other results here. Okay, so this picture does show it is being seated in sort of like the minis form. But they have another picture on one of these where it's being held up. So I don't know if maybe the people taking the picture misused it. Here it is, that being used that way as well. So it does appear that I'm not using it correctly, but I swear to you when I ordered it, you'll see that it's offered in many different AliExpress stores. And maybe it's in the directions. I saw it somewhere. Any mention of the stand? There is no mention of the stand in the direction. But going off the pictures, I'd say, yeah, that sounds like you guys got it right. It's like I got it wrong. Just take this unit, flip it that way, just like we're familiar with the minis form build. Something's holding it in there too, which is impressive. This doesn't appear to have anything that would lock it in place. Yet, that's definitely much more secure way to stand it up if you wanted to put it on the stand. Then, of course, you could turn the RGB back on. Look that way if you had it in the vertical stand. So, okay. Good to know. Sharp eyes. For people that want to nominate themselves for one of the free computers, you're going to need to leave a comment underneath the video. It's not going to be dealt with in live chat. So you'll wait till the video is over and then go ahead and leave your comment. Comment section will be available after this video ends. At that point, you're free to nominate yourself for the PC. We're not doing that in live chat today. Richard Palmentier said he's working on his new build. The computer won't turn on. He's got a Gigabyte H610M motherboard, socket 1700. Doesn't tell us what CPU he's got or what RAM he's got, what power supply he's using. Richard says he sent me an email. All right, let's take a look at the email. Maybe the missing information is in the email. Luke Greenia sends a $50 PayPal contribution. He goes, because you're doing another giveaway, I'll do one too. You've been chosen for this gift. Thank you for all you do. Thank you to Luke Greenier, a regular contributor here. Appreciate you very much. Joining us all the way from Vermont. And see, Richard says, I have these items and I'm trying to get technical support from Gigabyte. They need the BIOS version, but as I've tried to start the computer, nothing's happening, so we can't, if it won't boot, how do you get the BIOS version? It was using a DisplayPort cable, then I switched to a VGA cable. VGA? Reset this CMOS battery using the Corsair 110R case. I've reinserted the memory modules. Power LED turns on. When I turn on the power supply, I hit the on button, the case and monitor blink and power saving. Let it sit for 10 minutes, nothing. As far as I know, the only way to get the BIOS version is through the BIOS. That is correct. Using an EVGA 500 watt GD80 plus gold power supply. He's got Corsair Vengeance LPX 16 gig, 2x8 gig DDR4 3200 speed. Using a Gigabyte H610 S2H DDR4 with an Intel Core i5 12400F. Well, make sure that you've got both power supply connectors. A lot of people forget that second power connector that has to go up by the CPU. They put that big chunky 24-pin connector on and then completely forget to put the little 8-pin or 4-pin CPU power connector on. Make sure you don't have anything else plugged into the motherboard. No keyboards, no mice, nothing. No internet, nothing USB, unplug everything. You only want your monitor connected. Now, the problem you're going to have is you bought a 12400F. So you bought a processor that does not have built-in graphics. I'm just realizing now that you bought a graphics cardless video GPU. So you have to provide your own graphics card, or you need to buy the right. Any Intel graphics card that ends in the letter F means that it has no video. No video. So you're not going to be able to see anything without video. So you'll need an Intel 12th or 13th generation CPU that either ends in no letters or ends in the letter K. Now, if it ends in the letter K, you'll additionally need to provide a cooler, because the Ks are the unlocked processors that enthusiasts buy, And enthusiasts will always turn up their snobbish noses at stock coolers. So Intel no longer includes stock coolers for the snobs, because they're just going to insult it anyway and replace it. So if you bought a regular 12400, for example, without the F, you probably would have been just fine. But if you buy an Intel CPU with the letter F as in Frank, that means you have to provide your own discrete graphics card. Same is true with AMD chips that do not end in a letter G. If the AMD CPU ends with a letter G, it's got built-in graphics, otherwise it doesn't. And you have to provide a graphics card separately. So that explains that mystery. Richard Palmentier says, I have a GPU. Well, does the GPU require power, Richard? What's the make and model of the GPU? Dan Therington contributes Dean. Dean Therington contributes $2 Canadian. Thank you, Dean. Welcome in. See how this computer's doing. Click screen over here for me. Close this out. Start that. Let updates take effect. Douglas wants to know how the Gatorade's going so far. Well, it hasn't been out long enough yet. I can't really tell if it's doing anything. I mean, the base is cold, but again, it's only going to keep it cold on the bottom. So I don't know how that's going to work throughout the show, but we'll find out. If I end up saying it's too warm and getting a new one, we'll know it's not good enough for my needs, but it's the thought that counts. And so far, I can't tell you. We haven't had this out long enough. So I'm still waiting to hear back from Richard Palmentier on the make and model of graphics card and whether or not that requires power. Because if you have a graphics card that requires power from the power supply to be plugged into it, and you have not done so, it'll exhibit the same symptom he's describing. Douglas thinks this little chiller is probably better for metal cans. You're probably right, but I don't know why it's so wide. It's massive. I don't know why it's so tall. Why is it so big? UTF Apollo Marine says he loves fixing PCs. He's going to make an ad on Craigslist in a few more months to challenge local repair shops. Yeah, if that's all it took. In most cases, if you put an ad on Craigslist, you'll get no response. Craigslist will charge you $5 every 30 days for that ad. And a lot of the people that are going to call you are going to pick your brain for free information with no intent to actually hire you. Craigslist is a big time waster. But try it, see for yourself. And then, of course, people on Craigslist are looking to pay next to nothing. And people on Craigslist always have the worst, oldest equipment that needs the most amount of work and are the soonest to complain and pay the least. But if that's what you want to do, don't let me step in your path. I would hope that you would aim higher than Craigslist, but everybody got to start somewhere. Joe DeMio with a $2 super chat. Thank you, Joe. Thank you again. Roy G. Bibbs said the cost for a 1 terabyte Samsung NVMe drive compared to what they cost 5 years ago is insane. Modern technology, man. That'll make you feel old when you start realizing, when you're able to compare what something was 5 years ago or 10 years ago, and oh my gosh, how cheap it is. And you got all these young people going, I can't believe how expensive it is. And you're like, what are you talking about? It's so inexpensive. And they're like, whatever, boomer. Arnold corrects me and says all AMD Ryzen 7000 series CPUs have integrated graphics with or without a suffix. I didn't know that. Thank you for letting me know. I haven't touched an AMD CPU, a modern one, since it's been over a year. Certainly, I've never done an AM5 build. I've never even seen an AMD AM5 compatible chip in person. But, there you go. Randy Phillips said it's 100 degrees Fahrenheit in St. Louis. It feels like 111 with this humidity. That sounds like misery, Randy. Steve Chappelle says, good afternoon, Carey. I read that Windows 10 will not be able to support Wi-Fi 7. Well, Steve, this should come as common sense since Windows 10 doesn't support Windows 10 doesn't support Wi-Fi 6E. So it would make sense that anything after, and including Wi-Fi 6E and beyond, I mean, how would it make sense that Windows 10 would support Wi-Fi 6E, not support that, but then it would support Windows Wi-Fi 7? It's not going to just skip one. No. Windows 10 Wi-Fi support ends at Wi-Fi 6. You can't go 6E or beyond, period. If Wi-Fi 8 comes out, when Wi-Fi 8 comes out, guess what? Windows 10 won't support that either. Stan Aristo said Windows 10 will be out of life when Wi-Fi 7 comes out. Well, Stan, Wi-Fi 7 is out. My TP-Link router is a Wi-Fi 7 router that we reviewed here several months ago. There's no Wi-Fi 7 network interface cards, but they should be out within the next 6 months, 6 to 8 months. And Windows 10 support is good for the next 28, 29 months. So yeah, Windows 10's end of life isn't until October 14th of 2025, which is more than 2 years from now. And Wi-Fi 7 is already out with the network interface cards due to be out in the either really late this year or in very early beginning of 2024. So information's a little off there, timing wise. Give it a couple of years and then you'll be right. Thomas Tidwell with a $10 super chat says, thank you, Carey. Hello all to the CH family. Welcome in, Thomas. Thank you for your super chat support. I see Sherry McFarland has joined us. So you could go on Amazon and you can buy a Wi-Fi 6E network interface card, and you can plug that into your motherboard, you know, under one of the PCIe slots, and you can load the driver for it in Windows 10, and it will connect up to Wi-Fi 6. The Wi-Fi 6E part of it won't be enabled until you install Windows 11. Just an FYI. Sherry McFarland said, in a few weeks, I want to find a bare bones mini PC to use my 16 gig DDR5 RAM for my laptop. Seems like a good excuse. So as far as the giveaway computers go, we have the Chewy Larkbox X, we have the Morfine M8S, and we have the Morfine what was the model on this one? M9. So an M8S and an M9. Now, these aren't rocket ships or anything like that, but they are all Windows 11 compliant, fully updated, and are great for the most common usage for PCs, which is doing things online like paying bills, email, YouTube, everything but playing AAA title games. You want to play old retro games, maybe. If you're into gaming is an expensive luxury, and you shouldn't be looking at anything that cheap. If you're into gaming, you're looking at the wrong thing. And so when you nominate yourself, let us know if you're nominating yourself for the Larkbox X, the M8S, or the M9. And or you don't care, any of them. If multiple people all want the same model, we'll obviously pick based on who appears to have the most benefit from receiving it. Or if you want the best chance of being selected, just say any of, don't specify. In fact, if you don't specify, I'm going to assume that means you don't care. They're all pretty much equal. It's mostly just kind of how they look, the aesthetics of them. They're pretty much equally capable. Some have a little bit more storage than others. Like this has a terabyte on the M9. The rest are probably $256, $512. What does this one say? This one's $512. This one, the M8S, 16 gigs of RAM and 100, but I didn't write down the size of the drive. I'd have to go back, and you can pull up the review videos I've done on these by just typing in CareyHolzman is one word, and then Morfine is one word. Search YouTube for that. Chewy, C-H-U-W-I, and you'll find the full review videos. Each one of these has a dedicated review video. Mats Olof contributes 100 Swedish krona. Right on. Thank you, Mats Olof. Bill Wickens pops in and says hello from Vancouver, Washington. Stan Ristov wants to know what happened to the blue Xenos case. It's sitting in the other room. It's done and it works. I just haven't had any purpose to use it, and still have the video card brand new in a box, unopened, that I purchased for it. So it's a channel project, without a customer paying for it. It's under no timeline. Yeah, it boots up into Windows 10, I think. And it works perfectly. Yeah, I just don't know what to do with it. Richard Palmentier said he's using an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 650 4 gig. GeForce GTX. Who makes it? Who makes that GeForce GTX 650? So Randy says he's nominating himself. A couple of things, Randy. Randy ordered a computer from me a while back, and he wanted to keep within a certain budget. And I didn't want Randy to end up making having buyer's remorse by building this really fast machine and then having it limited on RAM and storage. And I think Randy forgets this conversation. But Randy told me about a situation, and I just said, look, I would feel terrible to sell it to you with this configuration on your budget. So I'm going to put that extra RAM and extra storage in at my cost. So Randy got that computer for $300 less than it cost me to make it. So because I did that for you, Randy, that's like receiving a computer and getting it. So technically he did buy a computer from me, but I put free additions. Basically, you got a free storage bump and a free RAM bump that he didn't pay for. So for that reason, he would not be eligible. He's already received a gift from the channel, but I do hope that computer's serving you well, Randy. Also, please do nominate when you want to nominate, not in the live chat, but in the comments section below the video. That comment section may not be available to you until the video is over. Please do not nominate yourself in the live chat. Essential working too hard said, is the cooler keeping your Gatorade cool? Yeah, you know, so far, but normally my Gatorade would be cool this far into it anyway, so it's too early to tell. UTF Apollo, can we nominate others in chat for the giveaway? No, you can only nominate yourself, and nobody should be nominating anybody, including themselves. I may just stop doing the giveaways. I'm getting really frustrated that I have very simple instructions, and it's like I got to keep repeating myself. People aren't listening. So please, if you want these giveaways to continue, you've got to not make it so frustrating for me. I'm trying to gift something to somebody deserving. And if it's this hard to do it, I don't have to do it. So please follow my instruction. And if enough people just want to continue to not listen, then I'll just stop doing the giveaway because it's not worth it. It's frustrating. The rules change from one giveaway to the next, and it's done with intention to make sure people are listening. Shane Perkins wants to know, did I resolve the video issue? No, I don't know. The video issue just seemingly went away. I don't know why. Richard Palmentier said he's got an MSI GeForce GTX 650. And does that have a power connector on it? And have you plugged power into it? The reason computers cannot be shipped to foreign countries is because your country is going to hold it hostage. It's going to go into your local customs is where it will arrive. And that's after it takes 2 to 3 weeks for it to arrive in your country. It's got to go by boat. Assuming it's not damaged, which you won't know until you unbox it. And you won't be able to unbox it until you pay your country's import or tariff fee. They'll basically hold your package hostage. The customs department will evaluate the value of the product, and because you skirted your country to buy it by taking the money from your country and giving it to another country, then your government counters that by charging you a tax or an import tariff, and they won't evaluate what that is until the product arrives. So let's say you wait 3 weeks, it finally arrives, and you have to pay $50. Right? So you have 30 days or they send the product back. That's your government. You pay the $50, you get it home, it doesn't work. Nobody can help you. There's no support, there's no warranty. Now, this is obviously going to leave some people really pissed off. So we won't even entertain the concept of sending anything outside of the United States. Not to mention there are some import restrictions of electronics to certain countries. And I could very much get myself in trouble through ignorance, mailing something somewhere I'm not allowed to mail it. So the giveaways can get a little complicated. You know, the expression "no good deed goes unpunished" to try and do something nice. There's all these different ways it'll come back to bite you on the butt. So I have to be very cautious with the giveaways, and this is why those restrictions exist. It's not my idea. It's just the way the governments work. Richard Palmentier says his graphics card does not need power. Well, I think you've got a bad graphics card. That's what it sounds like. Because most cards like that GTX 650 you're describing do in fact require power. I think you're not seeing it. Have you ever used that graphics card before? Dee Dee says, good afternoon, Carey. I want to express my appreciation for the recent broadcast you did on the wireless networking device. Well, thank you, Dee Dee. I'm glad you appreciated that video. And of course, my thanks to the folks over at Ingenious for sending the products for us to review. Russell Stewart says hello. UTF Apollo Marine says he once attempted to ship a Dell computer to another country. The shipping was $1,500. I shipped a computer to Australia and the shipping was $1,400. And when the computer arrived, there was an import fee of $450. So it costs, the total cost was around $1,850 to mail the $2,500 computer. We were within the person who ordered it, they paid for it, accepted that they would, if there was any damage in shipping or any problems, they would not hold me accountable. But it was still a massive pain in the butt. He had a 5,000 Australian dollar budget to work with. He had a 5,000 US dollar budget to work with. So when it was all said and done, he was still well under his budget, and the computer arrived perfect, no problems. But yeah, that's very, very nerve-wracking. Best, if you're going to order electronics, order them from within your country so you have product support. There's no long delays in shipping. And those long delays in shipping also open up opportunity for shipping damage. The further it's going and the longer it's, being moved around from truck to ship, and different trucks and different warehouses, they throw these boxes around. Holy cow, man. It's not worth it. Just support your local region. Your neighbors need a job. You know what I mean? And your government needs the money to run the government when they collect on the taxes. Circumventing your government and all the employment opportunities that would be created by supporting your local country. Well, that's just, by not doing that, it's not very patriotic, and it will end up leaving you with no support and having to wait a very long time for the product to arrive, hoping there's no damage, and hoping whatever import fee is assessed is not going to be too terrible. I don't know why anybody would do it. I really don't. UTF Apollo Marine says, also shipping, pack the PC yourself. Never, ever pack the PC yourself unless you don't want insurance. You see, if you pack a PC yourself and it arrives damaged, but the shipper didn't pack it, the immediate answer to your insurance claim is no, you didn't pack it properly. If you would have packed it properly, we'd give you insurance. They'll take your money and offer you the insurance, right? But only when you file the claim are you going to find this out. So if you need something insured, make sure the shipper packs it for you, so they cannot claim that if it arrives damaged, that it wasn't packed properly. So I got to strongly advise you, do not, never, ever pack something yourself that you're going to insure, because you will never get that insurance claim approved. Never. Fred Mays joins us from Michigan. Welcome in, Fred. GF Apollo Marine says people at UPS damaged one of his PCs I shipped for. I won't ship a PC via UPS. They almost always damage them. So I go to FedEx and I pay FedEx to pack it and box it. FedEx has these really nice double thick, double walled cardboard boxes. UPS uses a single wall box. It's just terrible. And I found FedEx to also be the cheapest. And they've been very consistent with their delivery estimates. Nothing has ever arrived. I wouldn't say nothing. One thing arrived broken, but it wasn't obvious. It wasn't like there was a dent or a big side of the box was crushed. It was just, I don't know, some part must have just been jarred hard enough. That was a graphics card. And I won't ship graphics cards anymore. Like if somebody wants a gaming PC, I'll ship them the computer. They can go buy whatever graphics card they want from anywhere they want to buy it and just plug it in. Krypton said, I've been thinking about trying to sell some custom PCs I built on Craigslist. Yeah, again, people on Craigslist are looking for something for free. They're also looking for people to rob. So I would be very cautious. There is it's a very risky environment on Craigslist because, you know, you're complete strangers. At least on Facebook Marketplace, there will be a Facebook profile associated to the seller. But people have been robbed from Craigslist deals. The other thing is Craigslist folks will, you know, kick the tires. They'll email you a million questions and pick your brain and lowball you, you know. I'm off. I want this for $200. I'll give you $20 for it. Like a lot of times the offers will be insulting. But try it if you don't believe me. Have at it. It's a terrible, terrible place to sell. These are not the people who have money. People shopping on Craigslist aren't sitting there going, let me see if I can overpay for this. There are people that are basically wanting to buy something dirt cheap. And they're hoping you're desperate enough that you put it on Craigslist that you'll take just about anything they offer. They just assume I'm going to help you out by taking that computer off your hands and I'll give you $20 for it. It can get very insulting. And you will deal with people trying to scam you. You will deal with people spamming you. And you might get 20 inquiries with one sincere inquiry out of the bunch. It's a hard way to make a dollar. Richard Palmentier says he's got a GeForce 1050 Ti. I think the 1050 Ti requires power. Who makes that card? It's difficult to help people remotely when they can't even tell you what they've got. So it's hard to really be able to provide any accurate information based on inaccurate information. So you might be rushing things there a bit, Richard. Time to slow down. Let's see what arrived in the mail. Oh, got some RAM in the mail today. All right. I've got a build coming up. Kind of a funny story. I have this spare ATX motherboard with a 9600K processor, just kind of looking for a home. And I thought, I can make a build video out of this. So I went on Amazon and was looking for a very inexpensive ITX case. And stumbled on a really, really cool looking ITX case, which really needs a liquid cooler. Which really, there's also a really cool solid state drive I wanted to use that I think would look good in this case. But it's a Gen 4 drive, and that 9600K motherboard isn't going to support Gen 4. All right, so I ordered a motherboard and I ordered a CPU. And then I realized I should probably put RGB RAM. Oh, and I'm going to need a small form factor power supply. So I ordered one of those, and then what arrived was a standard ATX power supply. Because when I searched SFX power supply on Amazon, one of the first ones that came up was a good deal. It looked great, but it was a sponsored search result. And unfortunately, even though my search result was for a small form factor power supply, the sponsored ad was, I guess, just triggered on the keyword of power supply. And I didn't pay close enough attention. So I got the power supply, and it's, it's a regular standard desktop power supply. It's $110 that I didn't need to spend for a computer I don't need to build. Needless to say, I had to go back on Amazon, go a little slower this time, and be more careful about making sure what I'm ordering is a small form factor power supply, and then file the return for Amazon, take that back and send it back and get my money credited back to me on that. I should be getting the case by early next week. It could arrive anytime, but early next week at the latest. And I'm still waiting on the motherboard, and I'm still waiting on the solid state drive. So that's not a build that's going to happen tomorrow, but maybe next Friday, and it's just for fun. In the meantime, I'm still stuck with this ITX board with the 9600K, which the whole reason this whole thing even started, this whole little project, was just to find a cheap little mini ITX case to put it in. Once I have it together, I'd offer to sell it, I don't want to sell it just as parts. It's too easy to damage it in shipping, or to have somebody who doesn't understand what they're doing damage it and then claim I sold them something bad. So I need to have it installed and working in a complete system. Then I'll sell it as a complete computer, and I can prove that it works, and it's safer to ship it in the case than to just, have the parts out. Comments 247 said, Carey, I took the day off from work today and you're live. Life is good. Thanks for joining us, and hope you're enjoying your day off. Frank Jimmy said, buyers on Facebook Marketplace are also cheap, constantly offering half of asking price. I have no problem telling these buyers that their offer is insulting. Yeah, but at least with Facebook Marketplace, for the most part, you're dealing with real people who have profiles on Facebook. With Craigslist, you don't know who you're dealing with. You could be dealing with some guy in India who's trying to pull a scam on you. They get real creative with their scams too. Be careful out there. Jerry says that sounds like it's going to make a good build video. Well, that's the whole point, right? I know the build videos and the repair videos typically do quite well on views, but they cost a lot of money. So it doesn't really make sense for me to spend $700-800 on computer parts to make one video, and that video earns me $200. Like, how does that make any sense? So that's why you've seen fewer and fewer build videos. Now, if I have a client that calls and orders a computer from me, I will show that build on camera. That's how this whole thing all started back in the day. But I guess I build them too good. Everybody's computer's running. Nobody needs any new ones right now. So there hasn't been any to build. Some of my clients have wanted some mini PCs, and there's nothing to build there. So I've got 3 of my clients running mini PCs partially in their office right now. And I provided those. I sold those and provided them. But obviously there was nothing to build there. Mark Gaines with a £2 super chat. Cheers, Gartha. Gary. Gartha? Right on. Thank you, Mark. Mark joining us from Northern Ireland. Hey, Mitch Morrison joins us. Hello, Mitchell. Have I read any good books lately? I'm in the middle of reading a book that I don't know how it got by me, but it's like Clive Barker wrote a Star Wars. Let me grab it. It's in the other room. I went on Amazon and I bought it used because, you know, I'm not worried about the warranty on a book. And I think it's a shame for somebody to buy a book, read it once, and it never gets touched again. So I know that this book has at least been owned by at least one other person and brought them joy. And instead of going into the recycle bin, it'll bring me joy. And then when I'm done with it, maybe I'll find somebody to give it to. But this is called Vector Prime, and it's a 19 book long story dealing with these creatures from another universe, practically another universe, that are very Clive Barkerish. A lot of everything is alive. Their ships and their body armor and their weapons are all organic and unfamiliar to us in our universe. They're extremely powerful. They enjoy pain and torture that brings them joy. This is unlike any other Star Wars book I've ever read. And it came out in the 90s, and I never really heard of it before. But apparently this enemy is called the Yuzong Vong. And they are some serious adversaries. They just have a different way of seeing the world. And we have to figure out ways, well, Star Wars, the folks in the familiar Star Wars universe, Jedi, have to figure out how do we deal with, you know, something we have no perspective or concept of. So anyway, very interesting. And I'm sorry I didn't know about this book back in the 90s, I guess. It was published in the 90s. And this author, I've never heard of this author, but he's very good. This is really quite the page turner. It's just got Luke and Han and Leia. And Luke is with his wife, Mara Jade. And Han and Leia have a couple of kids, Anakin and Jason, Jacen, or is Jason Mara and Luke's? See, the problem is Mara and Luke's kid was named Ben. So the problem is this is no longer canon. When Disney bought the rights to Star Wars from Lucasfilm, they okay, my little drink coaster's beeping. What does that mean? When Disney bought the rights of Star Wars from Lucasfilm, they said, okay, none of that stuff that happened in the books counts. But Disney's been slowly bringing some of the stuff back, like Grand Admiral Thrawn, things like that, and making it canon once again. And for the most part, keeping the characters the same. So this, boy, oh boy, this would make a great movie. If they could, I mean, they would have had a hard time doing special effects that would be convincing based on what this book is describing. And you can see this book's been around the block a few times. I love that. That book's got character. And, you know, I'm a pretty slow reader. I'm about that much through it. And as I mentioned, there's 19 books in the series. And this is highly rated, well regarded, according to reviews and everything I heard about it. So I've been reading that. And there's a couple others, but that one, that's what I'm on right now. And I'll tell you about the next one when it comes to that. But I'll probably, based on how good this book is, I'll probably immediately start book 2. I've got the first 3 books all bought used off of Amazon, although the other 2 still look like new. That one's really beat up, but again, I like that. And then if it keeps my interest, I'll get book 4 through 19 as I read them. Gary Tatum says the beeper tells you when it's time to take a drink. Tyanor Shap in the chat says, I've never been a book fan, but I understand that's something behind it. Like it's creating a movie in your brain. You can't do that with anything else besides a book. I've noticed kids, a lot of young kids, think a book is punishment. When I talk to my nephew about reading a book, it's almost like suggesting he reads a math manual or an owner's manual to something. In the meantime, they read on the internet every day, constantly on their phones. So, you know, being able to read is a familiar concept. But, you know, when you grow up in a generation where you don't have to use your imagination, everything is being provided for you now. You no longer have to do it yourself. You don't have to imagine what a character looks like. They bring it on screen. You don't have to have the story running through your head when it can be spoon-fed to you in a movie or a TV show, usually quite truncated and usually to far less detail. In almost all cases, a book is way better than a movie. But a lot of these kids now, they're so used to having constant stimulation from the moment they wake up until the end of the day. The idea of sitting quietly reading a book sounds like torture to them. And I get it. And hopefully, as they age and their body cannot keep up with the energy levels required for constant stimulation all day, every day, 7 days a week, they'll start to slow down. And then that's likely when they'll start seeing the appeal of books. Maybe. Maybe. Imagine, guy says, I didn't know you are a fellow Star Wars fan. Oh, please, Star Wars practically changed my life in 1977. Yeah, it's a major impact. Hey, camera girl, am I a Star Wars fan? Mara said I was a warzy. Said there's no such
I
thing.
still say that.
There's no such thing as a warzy.
It is.
Star Trek fans are Trekkies. Harry Potter fans are Potterheads. But Star Wars fans are just fans. And you know, they have that website Cameo where you can pay a celebrity I should grab that video. Let me see if I can grab the video for you. Let me grab a flash drive. We got a squirrel moment. I'm going to step in here for a second over to this other computer. And let me sit where you're sitting, please.
Okay.
And let me plug this flash drive in here. And I think, what's the name of that file? Give me just a second, guys. I'm looking through about 2,000 files here. And if I'm smart, I put it I labeled it alphabetically. I did found it, copy and paste. That is pasting to the flash drive. Got it. Close that and safely eject the flash drive. Although these days that's optional. You don't have to safely eject flash drives of the Windows 10 or 11. I still tend to do it. So now I've got my flash drive here. Let me move that into a USB port back here. And we start a new media source. Yes, add media. Video source. Okay. Just run it right off the flash drive. I don't even have to copy it.
Hey Marlena, it's Katie.
Okay, so let me turn off camera 1. Oh, and then our update's installed. Okay, we'll come back to that in a minute. We're going to go to just a blank screen here. Oh, you know what I'll do? Let me turn on camera 1 again. Let's go to the side. Maybe I can figure out how to use OBS. All right, we'll put that over there. And see if this works. Are you ready?
Hey Marlena, it's Katie Sackhoff, aka
Why is there no audio?
Bo-Katan. And as keeper of the dark saber of Mandalore, trust me when I say this, there is no such thing as a Warzy. They are Trekkies and Potterheads, but Star Wars fans are simply fans. Carey. Hey Marlena, it's Katie Sackhoff, aka Bo-Katan. And as keeper of the dark saber of Mandalore, trust me when I say this, there is no such thing as a Warzy. They are Trekkies and Potterheads, but Star Wars fans are simply fans. Carey also had a message for you. Olive juice. Happy holidays. This is the way. Hey, Marlene.
There it is. So I guess it was putting audio out. I just didn't, OBS had it hidden from me. See, Mara didn't believe me when I told her there's no such thing as a Warzy. So I thought maybe if Bo-Katan herself, keeper of the dark saber of Mandalore, would explain that to her, that she would believe it is factual. Different ways to win an argument. Well, you're wrong. Little fun. The new show Ahsoka just started yesterday. That's on Disney Plus, and that's been the best Star Wars show I have seen yet. That is really, really, really good. And I wasn't expecting it to be good, given how bad Kenobi was. Andor was okay. It was pretty good, actually. Mandalorian was okay. I don't think Mandalorian season 3 was as bad as people made it out to be. But Ahsoka is blowing them all out of the water. This is proper Star Wars story. Yeah, they really hit it out of the park. So they released episodes 1 and 2 Wednesday on Disney Plus, and it'll be 8 episodes. So the last episode I think is October 3rd. So they'll air 1 episode a week until October 3rd, and then hopefully it'll get picked up for another series. Bob Iger over at Disney's really starting to shut things down. He's thinking he wants the 4th season of Mandalorian to be an in-theater movie instead, which would apparently Jon Favreau has already written the entire season 4. But if they end up making a movie instead, he has to scrap that and start all over again. And because of the writer's strike going on, he's not allowed to write anything. He can't start on it or get an early start on it. So Bob Iger seems determined to really slim things down at Disney. They're going to lose money. Like he's cutting down a lot of their expenses, but in doing so, he's cutting down a lot of their income. So it'll be interesting to see how that strategy pays off in the long run. Utomo said Ahsoka has been an excellent series so far, and looking forward to seeing the rest of the characters from Rebels. Yeah, that's pretty cool that they brought the cartoon Star Wars Rebels characters into live action. From Bo-Katan herself was one of them, but also Zeb, Hera, Sabine. Kanan's dead, so we probably won't see Kanan. Ezra, maybe we'll see Ezra. Chopper's in it, the droid. Yeah, they brought him to live action. It's really cool. Thrawn, they're bringing to live action. Is it Lars Mikkelsen playing Thrawn? I'm excited. Krypton says looking at that RGB is like staring into the sun. Yes, it is. It is very bright, and unfortunately, it's on or off. It doesn't really have a dimness setting. So this is something somebody would just love, or they would despise it. But again, the RGB can be entirely shut off by holding the RGB button in, and it just turns off. It's like a regular computer. But this computer's quite fast. In fact, if we go back over to, let's go back over to the HDMI input. Let's go back over to that desktop. Finish setup that occurred from this Windows update. Or this Windows update kicked this off. And so usually the way I answer this is I'll hit continue. Then I will hit skip. Not now. And back. Skip for now. That way it won't keep every time I starting the computer every 3 days. That's effectively, we've gone through it. It won't bother us anymore. And then we'll go back over to Windows Update and we'll look to see if there's any more updates. Looking good. Now this computer is quite capable, as I mentioned. It's an AMD Ryzen 7 5800H. Looks like we need some attention down. It's this one. Turn this on. Dismiss this. Oops. Dismiss the Microsoft account since I don't use one. Now that should be happy down here on the corner. Have crystal disk mark on here. Drive speed we get out of this thing. Just kind of curious what we got in here. There we go. We're off to the races. And while that's running, let me put camera 1 back up and I'll just put it in a corner so we can see both screens at the same time. Now we're just about 10 minutes shy of being on for 2 hours. So if you have any questions, this will be the time to ask because we're getting ready to wrap up the show. We are live and we love interacting with you, but you have to go into the chat and type to interact with us. You cannot do this on TV. There's really no other media that you can interact like this. Maybe radio, call-in radio, but then you have very limited time and you're always up against commercials. So we have a very unique platform here where you can engage with the content creator, and I very much hope you take advantage of that. So if you've asked a question that wasn't answered, that means I didn't see it. So you'll need to ask it again. Always watch the chat room for potential answers as well, because we have a very knowledgeable group of regulars who attend our chat during live videos on a regular daily basis. And they also enjoy helping people as well. So do watch for answers from them. Their answer may be more accurate than mine, or their answer may make more sense than mine. So don't ignore the chat room responses to your question. Shamim wants to know which is my favorite Star Wars movie. It's got to be A New Hope. The original first movie is the best one. Who is my favorite Jedi? Who is my favorite Jedi? Never really thought I had a favorite Jedi. I got to go with Obi-Wan. It's like I don't really think of Jedi in terms of how much I like them. Like I like all of them. They all have very unique character. I would say Ahsoka, really, but Ahsoka's not really a Jedi. She is, but she's part of the Order. She's amazing. Avery said growing up, he hated reading books because he was required to. You know, in school, they make you read books. But now he enjoys reading books, mostly Star Trek. Yeah, there's so many great Star Trek stories that were never turned into TV shows or movies. Hundreds of them, but you have to read them. There's a lot of stuff they can't make into movies for various reasons. You have to read them. Sharon McFarland says this looks like the AliExpress Mini she got there. AO Star Mini PC Ryzen. Well, this is a different model. So let me share the screen. Sure. Wrong button. Keep hitting the wrong. So Sherry found this on Amazon, the AO Star Ryzen 7 7735H, which is a higher end. We're just a Ryzen 7 5800H on this one. That's an 8-core, 16-thread processor. They've included 32 gigs of DDR5. This is not DDR5. A 1 terabyte Gen 4 NVMe SSD, 2.5 gig LAN, supports 4K 60 hertz triple display with Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.2. There appears to be an $80 coupon that would take this price to $470. So, about 50% more, about half paid. What are these other things now? 6,600, 58. It looks like they're using the same case. Looks like the ports are identical in the back as well, just that the main board is spec'd out differently. So yeah, it's effectively the same thing. Wanted to buy it from Amazon where you could return it or you didn't have to wait 3 weeks for it to arrive. Pretty close. It's just a higher end model and better equipped. Hence, it's more expensive. Final numbers on this drive are interesting in that the write speed of 1884, I'm wondering if that's a heat-related concern. I want to try running, just the write test. Now that the drive's had some time to cool down. Over here to settings or profile. Do just the write test. See what this number becomes. If you look up here, you'll see it's preparing, doing test 1 of 5. It'll give us the best of 5 tests. So apparently it's not a heat-related problem. It's just a limitation of the capacity benefit. It drives abilities. It's obviously a budget drive. Probably one I took out of a different mini PC. Don't know if this supports Gen 4 or not. I'd have to put a Gen 4 SSD in there and try it out. But I have to tell you, when I purchased this, I really thought, don't expect much. You know, at the very least, I'm going to get an interesting video out of it, was my thought. What I didn't expect is it's actually quite good. I'm quite impressed by it. For $300, put in your own RAM, your own storage, your own operating system, and you've got yourself a Ryzen 7 5800. That includes your motherboard, your Wi-Fi, your Bluetooth, your power supply, your heatsink and cooler. Includes the case, the RGB, the little stand. You'd be hard pressed to try and build that yourself for anything less than $400 or $500 minimum. So obviously you will have to put a couple more bucks into it for the RAM and storage, unless you have stuff laying around you could. But really, I thought this was going to be junk, and I was very impressed. I wouldn't hesitate to use this computer myself. It's quite capable. Joe DeMio with a $3 super chat. Thanks again, Joe. Justin Havu says he just upgraded his music production rig from an i5 9th generation, 9600K with 32 gigs of RAM. And he went to an i9 12th generation, 12900K flagship with twice the amount of RAM, 64 gigs. He said that's a huge improvement with the speed and the power. Yeah, you've doubled your processing power and you've doubled your RAM. So I imagine that's a noticeable upgrade. Frankie B has joined us. Welcome in, Frankie. He says, check my email. All right. I guess it's been a while since I've checked it. Let's see what we got going on in email. Avery Ramsdorf sends a $7 Amazon gift card. Thank you, Avery. Thank you for your continued support. And Frankie B sends a $150 Amazon gift card. Oh, very kind. Thank you so much, Frankie B. That's very generous. And my real estate agent is sending me a house for sale in Michigan. That looks pretty good, actually. But I don't have time to look at that right now. I'll look at it. All right, guys. Any other questions? Let me just scroll. Carey, have you read any of Stephen King? I don't like horror. I'm not a fan. I enjoyed the Running Man movie that was based on a short story that Stephen King wrote under a pen name. But I can't think of one thing Stephen King has done that I've liked. It's not my thing. I like sci-fi, Dune, like Robert Heinlein. There's a Polish author named Stanislaw Lem. He wrote some really great satirical books that were translated to English. I usually like some weird stuff. A lot of fantasy I don't get into, stuff with dragons or magic. Things with horror or gore, not into it. I like documentaries, biographies, autobiographies. Russell Stewart says, do you have to download anything with Crystal Diskmark Portable? Or is it a standalone file? Yeah, it's a zip package that contains, you can download either an installed version or a portable version. Because I'm a professional technician, I don't go willy-nilly putting stuff on people's computers. I only use portable utility software, and that way I'm not leaving any remnants behind and messing around, leaving things in the registry, user data folders. A lot of people like Best Buy techs, they don't even know they're doing that. So I personally choose the XP version, which is the zipped file, and then you extract that zip file and just run the executable from the folder you've extracted it to. It's that easy. That's pretty much the rule with all portable software universally. Sometimes you might get a piece of software like Rufus that's only one file, but most of the software like CPU-Z, Crystal Diskmark, Crystal Disk Info, they're going to have to extract into a folder, and then you run the executable file to run the software, but there's no installer. And that way we're not leaving anything behind. John Williams says, thanks for the great live stream again. Have a good night, heading out for dinner and celebrating 38 years of marriage. Right on, John. Enjoy your anniversary. Congratulations. Richard Palmentier thinks he might have a bad CPU. No. Very unlikely. CPUs don't normally go out. Might want to check the pins if you damaged any of the pins in the socket. Still leaning on that video card. Something sounds suspicious about the video. Krypton Corn says, I don't like horror movies either. That's what we have the news for. Isn't that true? Do I like Asimov or Bradbury? No, I do not care for either one of them. Dry, very technical sci-fi is not interesting to me. I much prefer action. And Asimov to me and Bradbury were very technical. So while they were constantly recommended to me as in high school as a teenager, my attempts at reading them, I ended up just putting them back. Yeah, I couldn't get into Lord of the Rings, tried reading that, couldn't get into it. But Robert Heinlein, L. Ron Hubbard with his science fiction books, Not his other books, but his science fiction books like Battlefield Earth, Invasion Earth series. That was a 10-book series. I was really into some Doctor Who books, especially for the second Doctor when so many episodes were lost. The only way you could know what those episodes were was to buy the book. And those books were really thin. I enjoyed reading a lot of the first and second Doctor real stories that were TV shows where the shows were lost. And so the only way I could be familiar with them was to buy the books. So for the most part, when I was reading Doctor Who books, they were based on actual Doctor Who stories that were television shows. I did read a few that were apart from that, but yeah. Sylvan says, Carey, would it be possible for me to completely rearrange my schedule and start my stream at a different time that's more convenient for him and the other thousands of people that watch my stream? Too bad for them. No, of course not. That's the beauty of YouTube, is that you can watch these streams after they've aired at a time that's convenient for you. The idea that we can broadcast worldwide and be able to do that at no cost to anybody, it's all free to you. You know, once you have the computer or the means to get on the internet, these shows are all free for you. If you want me to make a show specifically for you and you'd like to finance that, well, we could certainly discuss that. But no, I'm not changing my work schedule. Can you imagine if I did that for everybody watching? No, absolutely not. That's not a reasonable thing to ask me to do. I've been making these videos since 2008. I've been on YouTube, and I make the videos that I want to make, and I'm not making them specifically for any viewers. My hope is that people will find my videos that see the value in them and understand why I made them. My goal isn't to pander to what people want. I'm not interested in that. So if the videos aren't for you, if there's something you don't like about them, you know, there's lots of other content creators out there that might be better suited for your wishes. Well, we certainly don't want to lose you. We're not going to accommodate for you. The benefit is, of course, you can play the videos anytime you want. And, you know, we hope that you appreciate the amount of effort that goes into making them and their expense so that we can provide them at no cost to our viewers. And I hope that you can appreciate that. How's the Gatorade? You know, that's a good question because we've been on 2 hours. This would be warm by now. It is, it's not warm, but it's not cold. It's a little bit on the cold side, but not like when it comes out of the refrigerator. It's not really chilled, but this does seem to be, at the very least, minimizing the, this would definitely be room temperature by now. And I wouldn't want to drink it. It's very drinkable at that temperature. I do wish it was colder, though. More refreshing when it's colder. Utomo says, have a good evening and a good day tomorrow. The force is with you. Hey, thank you, you too. Starshine said, I'm hoping Carey will fly to the UK and do a stream from my garden. Yeah, just have your agency contact. What's that called? What do actors have? The person that represents them? Talent agent? What do they call them? No, yeah, obviously, wouldn't that be great if we could do that? Richard Palmentier says BIOS has been reset. I don't know why you're even touching the BIOS, Richard. I don't even sometimes people, they ask for help and then they go about this whole path that has absolutely nothing to do with their problem. So I find that really unusual. I never once recommended you reset your BIOS. If the computer is a brand new motherboard and you've taken it out of the box and you're hooking it up, the last thing you want to do is get in the BIOS and start messing with things. Now, I understand you're diagnosing, but it's like your car won't start and you're changing the tires. And I don't understand why you think one has to do with the other. If it's a brand new motherboard, you should not be doing anything with the BIOS. You shouldn't be resetting it. You shouldn't be doing any of that. That you're just wasting your time. So, you're dealing with some parts that you've either installed incorrectly. When you keep in mind, Richard, how many times you've seen me unbox and do builds on this channel, how often do you ever see me get a bad part? It sounds like either you have installed something incorrectly or you've damaged something. And specifically the CPU socket. See a lot of people who are first-time builders who aren't gentle enough with that socket. And when I pull the CPU out and look at it and I see bent pins, I already know the user caused their own problem. I've only seen 3 or 4 bad CPUs in 30 some odd years, 33 years of doing this. The idea that you would have a bad CPU is highly unlikely. It's possible, highly unlikely. You can try one RAM module. Don't use 2, just use 1. See if the system will boot with one RAM module. If it doesn't, take that RAM module out, try a different RAM, and put it into a different socket. Still results in no change. Probably the RAM is fine. I would take the video card and put it into another machine and verify that the video card works. But most importantly, I think I would take the CPU out and I would take a look at those pins. It sounds like you bent pins on the CPU. Sorry to say that, but I think that's what's happened here. If there was a bad part, it would be the motherboard. 99 times out of 100 when you're not sure if you have a CPU problem or a motherboard problem. In my 30 plus years of experience, I have changed out more motherboards than I can shake a stick at. CPUs, 3, 4, maybe 5. Very, very uncommon. But yeah, on a brand new motherboard, I would not have messed with the BIOS. If you bought a returned board, like from Amazon, somebody returned it, that's a different story. But brand new out of the box, shouldn't have been messing with that. Richard Palmentier said he got the GPU to work. Well, I don't recall you mentioning that before. So was it that you didn't provide power to the GPU? Is that why it wasn't working earlier? You need to give me this information, Richard, or you're sort of somewhere over here and I'm still giving you directions over here. Richard said, I didn't mess with it, GPU working, and this is what came up. What came up? He said, this is what came up. What is this? This what? It's very difficult. Blackjack said, I fixed an issue last week where there was a very small amount of thermal paste that was on 2 of the CPU socket pins. I cleaned the processor and the other 2 DIMMs started working. I was happy I fixed that. Yeah, I don't know what I would do if there was thermal paste on pins. So you can't touch those pins. You'd have to be very, very cautious. How the heck would somebody get thermal paste under the CPU? Crazy. All right. Well, I think we are caught up. I think, Richard, you might be in a frame of mind right now where you might be best to walk away from this, do something else for a little while. The information I'm getting from you is scattered and broken, and it seems like you're forcing something And I would strongly encourage you to slow down. If you're getting frustrated, stay away from it for a couple hours and revisit it again. I'm not sure what else to tell you. The parts, brand new out of the box when installed correctly, 99.8% of the time should just fire up. But because I'm not there and I can't see it, and you're not providing me clearly the information that's accurate to describe the situation, you're leaving a lot of things unexplained that you're just taking as an assumption that I already know and I don't know because you haven't told me, and that makes it quite frustrating for me. So yeah, I just think you need to take a break for a little while. And I think you're getting frustrated and might be overlooking something quite simple. All right, guys, thank you for hanging out with me today. Thanks again to Frankie B with that great contribution, that Amazon gift card. So awesome. And also thanks to Avery Ramsdorff for the Amazon gift card, as well as Luke Greenia for that PayPal contribution. Thanks to Randy Phillips for the Amazon gift card, and Paul O'Brien for the Amazon gift card. I also got an email from PayPal regarding the scammer on eBay. And PayPal has found in my favor and has refunded me the entire purchase price, including sales tax. So justice has been served. Thank goodness that's behind me. And I will be far more cautious when I order from eBay, that if somebody only has a feedback of 1, I'm going to assume they're a scammer. And I don't care if the price is a normal price. Obviously, if the price is too good to be true, but if it's a normal price, but the seller has no selling experience, I'm not going to be the first anymore. I've learned that lesson. I really thought this was so obvious. It was going to be a no-brainer for eBay to simply acknowledge the obvious scam, but they didn't. PayPal didn't. I appealed PayPal. And then PayPal's like, oh, okay. That was an exercise in frustration. I can totally understand why somebody might say it's not worth it to go through all that and just let the scammer have the money. And I'm sure the scammer is counting on that. So, when you're buying from eBay, look for people that have a lot of feedback, at least double digits at the very least. And always check to see when the most recent feedback was left. And were they a buyer or were they a seller? You could tell from the feedback. It'll say product arrived great. Well, then clearly they were a seller. Or the feedback might say something like shipped it fast and works great. Then you know they were the seller. But in any event, I've been on eBay since 1997, and that was a new one for me. Nearly all of the transactions over 20 some odd years on eBay, 26 years, have been successful. There have been a couple of bad ones in there, but it's really, really rare. And I'm just surprised that I got caught up in it, that I didn't see the warning signs. And I'm also more surprised that eBay would not back me up. But at the end, everything was made right. So now I can go back and try and find that camera and be more cautious when I decide who I'm going to buy it from. Thank you again for hanging out with me. Thanks for all of the super chats as well. And a shout out to Joe Demio, who gave us multiple super chat contributions today. Our friend Mark Gaines. Ryan One Full in Canada. Thank you for your super chat contribution. Thank you to Mats Olof for that 100 Swedish kronor contribution, joining us from Sweden. Thomas Tidwell contributes $10 in super chat. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you to Dean Etherington. His $2 Canadian contribution. And Paul O'Brien also sent a super chat, as did Stan Ristov, Planet Cryos, and of course, thank you to Zach Bischoff for renewing your membership here, because this is what keeps me from having to make commercials trying to sell you products. Like, the 1 million+ subscriber tech channels all do that. They don't really have a choice. Got employees, you've got to bring more income in than what YouTube pays. And about the only way you're going to reach that size is by producing that kind of content, which was going to require you to produce that kind of content in order to generate the amount of revenue you're going to need to continue making that kind of content. It's never why I started YouTube. I didn't do it to just make videos. I did it to share my experience. I did it to build community. And if there's a product or a service that I like and I use anyway, I would love to endorse them, no problem. But I will not have them put words in my mouth. And it'll be a product or service that I myself use and that I recommend to my clients. I would never recommend anything to you guys that I wouldn't recommend to my real customers in real life. Unlike hobbyists and enthusiasts, there are consequences when I recommend bad things to my clients. They hold me accountable, even to the point of suing me. So I have to be very careful. My reputation is on the line. And this isn't something that I'm looking to do for a couple of years. I've been doing this over 30 years. And I'd hate to throw all that hard work and dedication and reputation out the window just to make a few extra bucks. I think it's worth it. I think what I'm doing is worth far more than a few bucks. So when you guys contribute to the show, whether it's Amazon gift cards, PayPal, or being members here, you're helping to encourage that independence, which enables me to make more videos more often. This video would not have been possible without your contributions. This company doesn't know who I am. They have no idea we're making this video. And based on what I have emailed them asking for drivers, they don't seem to care. But they did provide the drivers for me, which I had to get from them. And yeah, it turned out, like I say, better than I expected it. I've got a couple other mini PCs from AliExpress yet to review. We'll get to those in the coming weeks. Oystein has renewed his membership. Oystein's been a member now for 13 months. That is awesome. Thank you, Oystein. Great show as always, Oystein says. And good night, everyone. Right on. Well, thanks to all of you. Thanks for participating in today's video in the chat. As a reminder on the giveaways, once I end the video, you're going to see a comment section is available. In that comment section, you can nominate yourself, nobody else. If you've never received a gift from the channel before, you must be at least 18 years of age or older. You must be in the United States. You can only receive one gift from the channel, so if you are selected, you will be ineligible for other gifts the channel gives away in the future. Best of luck to everybody. Hope we find some people here that would really appreciate it and be able to help them out. That's our goal here, just to help people out. Thanks for watching. Thank you, Camera Girl, for, what did you do today? Camera Girl's done nothing. Thanks for nothing, Camera Girl. No, that's not her thumbnail. Were there any keywords or tags? Yeah. Yeah. Slacker. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all again very, very soon. Until next time, bye for now.